Welcome back to the Flames of War battle report between me and Dave. I'm going to be playing as the Germans today, and Dave is playing as the British. As you can see from the title, I'm using the Armoured Panzergrenadier Company, 9th Panzer, so a little bit of a discount, not so much as the Greyhounds, but I kind of want a better last stand. And Dave is using the Desert Rats, and it's going to be the breakthrough mission, but when we did the lists, we did not roll for the mission at that point, so these are just trying to be an all-rounded list, so get us used to maybe tournament play at some point. So let's have a look at my list. So me and Tom spoke about the discounted command cards with the Germans before, and we always find it better to take as many units as possible to really get the effect of that. So this is what I've done there, not taken the Vesps for quite a long time for my list, and I've taken the Grills instead. I'm not always happy taking units that you have to re-roll on the artillery, but they're decent enough gun, and if I'm already ranged in on a big unit, that'll be good. As you can see, 2 platoons of infantry, one is in their half tracks along with the HQ, so they can move around, and then a decent enough support, so no anti-tank guns. So basically, apart from that one Panzergrenadier platoon, everything's armoured, so good mobility. Giving the Jagdpanzer 4s another chance. I think 3 games now they've been used, including this one, and the other 2 games they haven't really done anything yet, but they're going to do something at some point, I hope. And I've also got the Pioneers as well, for them to dig in easier, because with the 9th it will be slightly more difficult for them to dig in when they get to where I need them to. So here is the Panzergrenadier Company, lots of half tracks today. I do actually have more half tracks, but not all needed, so I'll take a few photos to break down the formation a little bit more. So this is the infantry element of the company. 2 platoons, one's armoured, one's not. Both with Panzerfaust. The HQ does not have Panzerfausts, and one of the half tracks has an anti-tank gun. And this is the rest of the formation, basically half tracks to deal with any situation, and some extra. So I got the 7.5 centimeter guns to deal with tanks, mortars for infantry, flamethrowers for dug-in infantry, AA guns for aircraft primarily, but then also good for light armor and infantry, and then the grills, which is artillery again. This list I plan to always pick attack, but with what I've got, I feel confident that they can defend as well in any situation, so that's why I'm trying to make them as rounded as possible. Before I go into the formation support, it is the debut for the grills for my channel. I've used them a couple of times before, but they've kind of fallen out of favour with me. But I'm giving them another shot because I feel I've a bit better picking my artillery templates now. So I feel like I want to give them another shot with what I've learned over the year since I've used them. And obviously they're in formation, and they are cheaper than the Vesps as well, and their firepower is better than them as well, so it'd be good to try them out again. This is the support, no Tigers this time, going for more of the medium stuff and tank hunters. So 4 Panzer 4s and 4 Jagdpanzer 4s and a 250 scout troop. It's always good to have that little spearhead in any circumstance, and they're not too bad as well with the 3-shot stationary on their 5 centimeter guns. They can be quite decent at certain times. So as mentioned, these are the 2 command cards, the 9th Panzer rebuilding. So basically every unit in the formation gets a point taken away from it, but then the tactics rating is increased to 4. Not too bad, because obviously the infantry are not really going to be blitzing them around much, so it's quite good. And obviously with those extra points, I was able to fit in a lot more units to bulk up the formation, so it's quite a good card. And obviously without if it was the Greyhound, their last stand would also be really bad as well, so I wanted to kind of stay away from that this time. So Dave has two formations, both desert rat formations, one in the form of the Cromwells and the other with the motor company, and just the 4.2-inch mortars in support. So quite a decent list, some good anti-tank guns in there, very fast tanks, and obviously desert rat infantry, the motor platoons, good rate of fire on them too. So this is the Desert Rat Cromwell formation. We've got the HQ with two 95 millimeter howitzer Cromwells in there as well, and then two troops of 3 Cromwells and 1 Firefly, 3 Stuarts, and 2 Crusader AAs. It is the debut for the Cromwell 95mm today. Cromwell formations I've used quite a bit this year, but I've never taken the 95mm, so these are quite good because they can fire an artillery template and direct fire. They're very good against lighter tanks and obviously infantry and buildings. And another debut for the Desert Rat Stuarts. The British Stuarts have been used before, but not the Desert Rat variety, so a debut for them today in this formation. And this is the Desert Rat Motor Company, 2 full platoons, so that's just 4 Brown gun rifle teams, a Piat and a mortar each, 2 HQ teams, 4 6-pounders, 4 3-inch mortars, 3 universal carriers, and 3 Wasp flamethrower UCs. All these units are actually provided by the command cards, so we have the half tracks, which is attached to one of the platoons or the HQ. We also have the Lloyd carriers that can be attached to the 6-pounders, and at the back the 4.2-inch mortars, which is a command card, which I'll show you now, but they're actually quite good in terms of artillery, better than the Saxtons and regular mortars, with a 2+ armor penetration and 3+ firepower, which is pretty good. So these are the corresponding command cards. 9 points for the 4.2-inch mortars, and then a point for the transport. So it just makes one of the platoons and the 6-pounders more mobile, because if you put your 6-pounders in the wrong place, they're pretty much out of the game because they're not going to be moving anywhere fast. But then you hitch them up to the transports, and you can get them around quite a bit. And this is the last command card, the Cautious Not Stupid card. So basically this could be attached to Desert Rat Rifle Company or Motor Company. Basically before you roll rally tests, you can automatically rally one of your units, and then the card gets used. So quite useful for Desert Rat infantry because they are very reluctant on a 5+. So it's just when you need that counter attack, or when you're desperate for them to do something, you use this card. Yeah, so it's fairly decent. Okay, so here's today's battlefield. So breakdown, we have a little town in the top left corner, farmhouse in top middle, and then we have a stream running across the battlefield with a little bit of boggy ground in the top right, 2 hills, top right and top left, hedgerows in the bottom right, and then just fields and a bit of forest in the rest of the table. When we deployed, Dave picked the town and the hedges for his deployment zone, and I'm attacking from the hill in the bottom left. So the narrative for the game is the Desert Rats have pushed up to secure this bridge in town, but the infantry have extended beyond their tank support, so the 9th have countered, so their infantry are desperately waiting for the rest of the tanks to catch up with them to help secure this bridge in town. Okay, so Dave picked this corner and this corner for his deployment zone, so I decided to attack from here, trying to avoid the boggy ground. For reserves, Dave put his Cromwell's HQ, a Cromwell troop, and the 6-pounders with their Lloyd's carriers. And in ambush he has the other troop of Cromwells, so decent ambush to pop up. For his deployment, he put the universal carriers and the AAs hidden by here to react to anything I do. We have the HQ and second platoon of the motor platoons by there, and we have the regular motor 3-inch mortars by here. Over in his left corner, he has the Wasps hidden behind this wall, again a reaction force. He has the 4.2-inch mortars by here, along with the Stuarts, and he has first platoon mounted up in their half tracks, ready to drive onto my objective, which I placed here, and I put another one by here. So Dave is already aiming to move on to the objectives, be a turn or two before he can secure them, but it will take me 6 turns to get there. What I put in ambush, in reserve, sorry, was just 1 platoon of panzergrenadiers, and they are my pioneers. So kind of think of it, basically these guys are going to try and distract them as much as possible, while my infantry do quite a quick run around the battlefield and turn up over here at some point. Was thinking about giving them armoured support, but I want them all on the field to start with, to try and deal with his armour. So the way I've lined up my deployment, all my guns are going to try and deal with the Stuarts to clear a path for me to drive up this road, and hopefully his reserves won't come in first turn. This all my armoured infantry here on the road, and basically I have my AA guns, my scouts, my mortars on the hill, then the armoured 7.5s, the Panzer 4s, the Panzer 4s. My flamethrowers are going to do a little bit of a journey over this way instead, just to kind of give them something to do. And my grills are hiding in the woods, so one can see out this way, which is great, and then one this way, so plenty to range in with for them. And that is it. So I get first turn as the Germans, and good luck to Dave, and hopefully this will be a nice game. Okay, so in my movement step, I tried to do a blitz move on my flamethrowers, but failed, so I ended up just doing a tactical over the river. Everything else is tactically moved forward to get into short range of the Stuarts, so see if I can pop off a few of them this turn. And the same over here, everything tactically moved. Was tempted to keep these guys gone to ground, but I felt if anything came from reserve here, they wasn't all in cover, so they would have been killed quite easily. So these guys are pushed forward to try and deal with the Wasps, so if I can see them, so these guys on the scouts might not be able to. So I'm going to start off with some nice bombardments, and hopefully we'll see some dead desert rat vehicles. Okay, so in the shooting step, basically artillery was what did everything. So basically my grills ranged in by here, because by this point they didn't clip any terrain with the angle, and they managed to bail out a Stuart, and they get a couple of hits on the half tracks as well, but Dave managed to bounce those hits. The mortars did the same. I missed their mortars, which is a shame, but I did manage to bail a half track, which is quite good. I kind of realised I should have, I forgot the blitz, basically everything, to get them in short range. The Panzer 4s were in short range of the Stuarts, but didn't get any hits, but all this lot needed 7s. I don't think I actually rolled any 6s with them anyway, so I wouldn't have got any. Same over here, I did get a couple of hits with my scouts on the Wasps, but their armour seemed to be too tough for me, so we're going into British turn 1. Okay, so this is a summary of the motivation step for Dave's British. Neither the Stuart or the half-track managed to get back in. He has decided not to bring his ambush in yet, and nothing has arrived from reserve, so we're going to see if anything moves. Okay, so all that's moved for the British is basically all the infantry elements. So the half-tracks that were operational have driven around, did a dash behind the farmhouse, so these gents can dismount next turn and go in, and he can also dismount and go out and try and catch up with them. Second platoon has moved onto the crest of the hill and also to secure the objective. They did a blitz move to try and get there. Passed. The HQ didn't pass their blitz move, so I ended up here. And I just remembered the only other thing that happened was the Wasps passed their blitz move. If they were to fail, Dave was going to drive them into the street to hide them, and if not, he's just gone onto a charge to flame the AA guns and the scouts. So this is, apart from that, they haven't really got much else to do, so he's just going to sacrifice them to try and slow me down a bit. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So it's not really much of a day for their mortars, considering all my stuff is armoured. The 4.2s though did have a crack here. They ranged in, got a few hits on the Stummels and the Panzer IVs, but luckily I managed to bounce. Same story with the 3-inch mortars trying to go for the flamethrowers. Did get 2 hits, but rolled 2 6s, so these are a very heavily armoured flamethrower half-tracks. Their counterparts, the flamethrower wasps, however, though, burnt out the AA guns. Had to reroll my saves. One of them failed anyway, and auto firepower. So that is a kill there. Hopefully, I can get my revenge and get rid of them with my scout cars. But yeah, that is a kill there to the British, and may slow me down. The only other thing. The Stuarts didn't fire, so Dave just did a shoot and scoot to bring the Stuarts outside of long range of the Jagdpanzer IVs, so I'm going to have to move to get back into short range, because these guys keep their gun to ground because they are scouts. So we have German turn 2. Okay, so I had no motivations to do, so I went straight into the movement. So these guys have tactically moved up to get into MG range of at least one of the mortars, maybe try to pin them. I did a successful blitz with the Jagdpanzer IVs. Everything else moved up tactically. My scouts remained stationary to get my full rate of fire onto the wasps, and the half-tracks are just slowly moving behind to try and get back onto the road, because these guys are blocking it for any dashes I might want. And that is it. I still have a few things ranged in over here, that's quite good. So hopefully I can pin down the other mortars and maybe this time try and get rid of the Stuarts. So we'll go into the shooting and see how that goes. Okay, so I had a few Hail Mary shots with these flamethrowers. Did get a couple of hits, but no kills. I managed to bail all 3 of the wasps, but that was as good as I could do. My grill managed to take out one of the mortar teams, and my Jagdpanzer IVs only managed to get 1 kill on the already bailed out Stuart. Basically everything else needed 6s to hit them because they're still gone to ground. Decided to fire my Stummels at the half-track, and that's where I got 3 6s, so I got him. The guy survived inside, but that unit is now pinned, so interesting. So that is it. I tried then to do a shoot and scoot with the Jagdpanzer IVs to keep them hidden away from this side of the table, but they failed, and that ends my shooting phase. So now we're going to British turn 2. Okay, so in the motivation phase, basically the only thing that was pinned were the mortars and the infantry failed to unpin. Dave wasn't going to use his card this turn, he's going to see it, and then maybe next turn use the Wessex card. The mortars did unpin, and as you can see here, the ambush has popped. Because of the concealment, they were within 4 inches, so these Panzer IVs are in trouble. I can't believe they didn't see these Cromwells. Really good concealment from the British, but worse news for the British, no reserves have managed to turn up yet, but next turn there will at least be something, so plenty of good places for these to come on from the corners. And oh, I did forget, we've got 3 bailed out wasps, so when we do the movement we'll see what their fate was. Okay, so in the movement step, 2 of these UCs have gone to the side armour, or maybe, yeah, 2 of them. No, only 1. I'll do it properly when we get to it. Try to get into the side of the half tracks. They are within 6, so they can't see them. The AAs have done a tactical move, so they can get some front shots. The Desert Rats dismounted out of their half tracks, and the other one moved over here away from our units, and obviously they're still pinned. Stuarts again not moving. The guys on the hill and the HQ tried to dig in, and as you can see, only the HQ is dug in. And that is it. So now we're going to the shooting phase, and hopefully I'll have some Panzer IVs still left alive after the end of this. So let's see what happens. Okay, so in the shooting phase, the universal carriers are the only ones that do any damage to the flamethrowers in the end. Managed to bail one with a cheeky side shot. Further over here, the Cromwell squadron, Cromwell troops, sorry, split their fire. All the Cromwells went for the Panzer IVs, and the Firefly went for the Jagdpanzers. You can see one dead Jagdpanzer, one dead Panzer IV, and one bailed Panzer IV, and that was it. The Stuarts did try have a couple of shots, but they missed, so they shoot and scooted back. And the 4.2-inch mortars ranged in on the hill. Did get 2 hits, but my armour managed to bounce them off. So we're going into German turn 3. So the Panzer IV managed to get back in, and by a miracle the flamethrower half-track managed to get in with a 6. No reserves though. My flamethrowers have gone into a position, so basically 2 are in range to flame this mortar, and the other one is going to try and cook up some universal carriers. My infantry, I'm hesitating to move them further up the road than that, because they're just going to get crunched by the anti-tank over here, but still plenty of time to move them. The scouts have dashed here. The 7.5cm guns, 2 of them have managed to get into side shot range of the Shermans, and 2 are not. So I could potentially do an assault with them if need be on the mortars to try and get rid of them. All my other tanks will remain still to get maximum amount of shots onto these things which are really bugging me at the moment. And then I'll move on and see what else I can do with them. And that is it. So we'll see if my shooting was successful. Okay, so as you can expect down here, my flamethrowers managed to get rid of the mortar team, so they are pinned as a result, and I managed to bail one of the universal carriers with the other. Over here is a bit of a disaster with the Panzer IVs, the Jagdpanzer IVs, and the Stummels. I only managed to get 1 hit on the Cromwell troop, and that was with a Stummel, and it was on front armour as well, so it got bounced. I luckily managed to shoot and scoot the bulk of them to try and hide behind the wrecks of everything else, but with British reserves coming in, this is really going against me at the moment. My artillery, however, did have a better day of it. They ranged in here, so already on the farmhouse, and I clipped this unit, and my grills managed to range in and kill one of the motor platoon over here, so they're pinned, so that should keep them sorted for a while. And that is it. So now we're going to British turn 3, and they will definitely be getting reserves on this turn, so let's see what happens. Okay, so British couldn't get back the universal carrier back in, and that was it. Dave did use the Wessex card to rally this platoon, so they can then move into the house, and the platoon on the hill rallied thanks to the reroll from the commander. Dave did manage to get reserves in, so the other troop of Cromwells have popped up here, so these Stummels are in a bit of danger at the moment. So yeah, it seemed that this corner was actually struggling with the Stuarts until the Cromwells turned up. So with another troop of Cromwells over here, I'm in a bit of trouble, and that is where we leave the motivation phase. So there is still movement. So we just moved these guys on, so there's still more movement for the British to see what they get up to. Okay, so movement for the British. Universal carriers here, just positioned so they can fire on the half tracks. Crusader AAs are already in a good position. The mortars have done a terrain dash over here just to keep away from everything. Guys on the hill have dug in. And that is it really. Stuarts are already in a good position to help out with the 7.5s. And the infantry are now in the farmhouse. And that is where we leave it. So I'm going to shoot in, and things are really starting to get out of hand over here for me. So we'll see what I can do. Okay, so down in this corner, 2 of the half tracks were actually killed by the universal carriers, which had an absolute amazing bout of rolling 6s, and then 1 was finished off by the AA. So I still have 1 flamethrower who's active, and his last standing on the 3, so hopefully he can stay around and do something. I had 1 half track that was bailed out because of the 4.2s.
I only managed to lose one Stummel, which I'm calling quite lucky considering the Stuarts and this troop fired at them. The other two are bailed, so I do need to get them back in. And I lost another Panzer IV and another one bailed to this troop. And that is where we end it. And now we're going on to turn 4. I need to start getting close to objectives, otherwise I'm out. Okay, so my motivation, I managed to get the Panzer IV back in and my 8cm mortar, but both Stummels have remained out. But luckily past their last stand, so bit of a problem there. And the one who is active is not in side armour. But good news, the flamethrower has stayed around, so I might have some work for him. And I did not get any reserves. So that is where we end the motivation, and now I got plenty of movement to do. Okay, so my movement, first up I moved the scouts so I can get some side shots on this one Cromwell by here. Might be able to bail him if I'm lucky. The Stummel, I managed to do a blitz move on a 4+, so he's inside. I tactically moved the Panzer IVs over to here, just to keep them away from the rest of them. Panzer IVs will remain still because I eventually will get a hit with them at some point. And I just had enough movement, the 8 inches ended just by this burnt out wreck here, to road dash the half tracks to here. What am I going to do smoke? I'm not sure yet. It's just to kind of protect them long enough to get out and maybe contest this house. And the remaining flamethrower over here is going to try and go for the UCs, also taking cover and being long range from the AAs. So just about keeping in the game, as I am going to decide whether to do smoke, because I am ranged in on that house and that is quite nice. But I might be danger close with the Panzer IV, so I'll have to check that now anyway. So we'll see, and we'll go into the shooting and see what happens. Okay, so basically my artillery is continuing to have a blinder. My grills have pinned down the platoon on the hill and killed another Brown gun team, and my mortars killed the Brown gun team in the house. Apart from that, I'm able to bail Cromwells and Fireflies, and that is my achievements for this turn. So now we're going into British turn 4, and they still got plenty of stuff to bring on, and still plenty of stuff on the table to do a lot of damage to me. Okay, so in the motivation step, this universal carrier remains bailed out. All the other tanks manage to get back in because they have a really good remount on the 3+. But as you can guess, the Desert Rat infantry all remain pinned. But the platoon on the hill has moved back off the hill, so outside of the template. And the Cromwell HQs have come in, and they are by here. And that is it, no more movement. Everything else is just going to remain stationary to get their full rate of fire, because the blitz move on the British is going to be a 4+, so it's a 50-50 chance, and obviously it's going to be difficult to hit anything. So we'll see what Dave decides to prioritise as his targets. I think it's still again whittling down my Panzer IVs and the Stummels, but I'm kind of happy for him to do that at the moment. So let's see how his shooting goes. Okay, so successfully this corner has been completely mopped up. It was the AAs that managed to get rid of the last flamethrower. They then did a shooting scoot, so they're already off the road to help the Cromwells do their road dash. Over down here, another Panzer IV has been killed by a Firefly, and the Panzer IVs survived a lot of firepower, but they managed to get taken out by one of the Piats in the farmhouse. Also, the Cromwells split their fire 3 ways onto the Panzers, the Scouts and the Stummels. Stummels are successfully gone, and one of the Scouts, and they also did a shooting scoot over. These guys failed their shooting scoot, and the Stuarts did a shooting scoot further back as well. And that is where we end the British turn, and now we go on to German turn 5, where I will get some reserves in. Okay, so the only motivation I had to do was the Panzer III, and he passed his last stand, and my reserves are in as well, so they've gone on from their corner, and they are by here. Hopefully I can get rid of these guys and contest this objective. So now I'm into the movement phase. Okay, so for my movement, the scouts are staying put. The Ag Panzers and the Panzer IVs are staying put. I dismounted my infantry and did a follow me so I can go up to 10 inches, so within assault range, and obviously got a bit of, maybe get a few shots in here, but I am going to put some smoke down, would probably be better. And that is it, that's all I had to move. These guys obviously got a few shots to do, and we will get back to you, and hopefully I've whittled down these guys enough to get in a good position. Okay, so in my shooting step, my tanks are still not hitting anything. I did do a smoke barrage here to shield my infantry going into the farmhouse. My grill actually managed to pin this unity and actually got a hit on the Cromwell, so my artillery again is doing better than everything else. I did try to, I put all my shots from the panzergrenadiers into the HQ. I only got 2 hits, so, pinned, because they got 3 shots each, which is a bit brutal for this assault when they go in, but this assault should be a bit better because both platoons are pinned. So we'll do the assaults and see how I'm looking. So this assault down here, with the Brown guns and the Sten guns, they got 4 hits on me. But then the Piat got 1 hit on me, which forced me back. So if I'd pinned down that HQ, but they were gone to ground and concealed, so it was really hard. I only got 2 hits. I couldn't get in, but luckily I didn't take any casualties. Over here, I took 3 hits going in, but did lose someone. Managed to kill 2 of the Brown gun teams, but then the Desert Rat platoon failed their counterattack. So back in the field, underpinned, which they were anyway, and my guys have occupied the farmhouse. So that is it. So now we're going into British turn 5. Okay, so in the motivation step, the Universal Carrier is still bailed out. These guys have rallied, and as the only Desert Rat infantry that rallied, the other mortars have successfully got back in. And the 6-pounders have turned up, but not really much they can do, so they're just going to Operation Mop Up on the scout units, and that's it. So Dave has a bit of a problem. He needs to get within 4 inches of this objective to stop me taking it. I hold the house, I have everything else around it. He can do it with the Stuarts potentially. These guys aren't moving anywhere further forward, and the Cromwells might be able to do it with their tactical, although people are getting in trouble of ambushes if they do, so we'll see what happens. Okay, so in the movement step, one of the Cromwells have managed to sneak onto the objective to hold it, and 2 Stuarts. The other Cromwells are moving over to take up the positions of the other ones, and over here the AAs have tactically moved down, and these guys have road dashed to get as close as possible. These infantry have managed to dig in, and these ones were unsuccessful, so we're going into the shooting now to see what can be achieved. Okay, so a lot of firepower has gone into the building. They are pinned, and I've also lost a unit in there. Lost the half track with the anti-tank gun, which is a bit of a problem, and I've also lost another Jagdpanzer 4 and another scout unit, so they'll be last standing. Mixture of firepower managed to kill 2 of the bases over here, so they're pinned as they were already, so a lot to rally in my turn as we go into turn 6 and the objectives turn on and become active. So quite a lot to do, as I just mentioned, but still a chance for me to sneak this one if things can rally. So every motivation test I needed, I passed, even on the scout unit. So everyone is keen to keep on going. So I'll have to really push that to my advantage at the moment. So, well, let's see how it goes now. So I got to push these guys off the objective. Now, at least now, since the HQ have fired, they'll be easier to hit, and maybe I'll be able to pin them this time and force them off. And I need to get rid of a few tanks off this one, so plenty to do. Not really much movement. I moved my scout car down here for concealment with the buildings and to hose down the 6-pounders. My HQ is moved round to the side of these Stuarts. Hopefully I can knock one out with a Panzerfaust and then go in and finish off the other one. Still have a few marauding infantry I need to deal with, and everything is already set up over here to do my assault, and should be able to pin down the infantry this time. So we'll go into the shooting, and then I'll have to knock everything off the objectives. Okay, so in my shooting, my Panzer IVs and Panzer IVs have achieved more in this last turn than they've done all game. I managed to kill 2 Cromwells, most importantly the one contesting the objective, and I just realised I'm not going to fire anything out this building because I can just sneak out onto the Stuarts, hopefully kill them and drive them away. Finally pinned down the HQ unit, of course no kills, but better odds now to run in for my assault and push these guys away from the objective. And that is it, so now we're going into the assault phase. Okay, so the assault over here didn't go as planned. I lost 2 bases going in. I took a couple of British with me, but I got forced back in the end. Over here, the Stuarts put up a brave fight. I think we had about 4 or 5 different counterattacks going in, but in the end, the Stuarts failed their 5+ counterattack and drove away. This one Stuart got taken out fairly early on, but this one Stuart just kept on fighting. So the ends with a victory for me, because I started with it in 4, ended it within 4, and these guys are too far away to contest it. So costly victory to me, but a really good game in the end. Just about did it with the infantry. They carried the day. So the Armoured Panzergrenadiers, 1st platoon, are going to be my man of the match, just because the fact is they won the game in the end. And apart from the grills and the 8cm mortars, no one really did anything else. So I think, yeah, the grills actually had a really good game. They're the ones who pinned everything that needed to be pinned and took out units that enabled the assaults. And Dave wants to name his universal carriers as his man of the match, because they basically, although they didn't impact the result of the game, them on their own managed to, I think in total 3 of the flamethrower half-tracks, and with just Bren guns, I think that's pretty good achievement. So yeah, they became man of the match. An honourable mention to the Firefly from the ambush troop, because he took out 3 Panzer IVs by himself and a few other units as well, so quite good. And you enjoyed the game, Dave?
Yeah, no, it was a really fun game. I thought I had it, to be honest, up until our last sort of 2 or 3 turns. But yeah, either way, it was fun how things played out. I found that we had like a lot of little battles going on rather than it just being, sort of all focused in one area. There was a lot of different areas to work out, so that made it more interesting, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think it was lucky I managed to quickly get their Armoured Panzergrenadiers into that farmhouse, and I think the placing on that objective was just about perfect, really, because it was...
Yeah, that assault definitely did it. You were able to obviously get me out of the house as well then. So as soon as you did that, you just settled in with the half-tracks behind you.
I'm still very disappointed with my Panzer IVs and Panzer IVs until the last turn then. Only then did they kill anything from that Cromwell troop, where I thought I could have got them, after that ambush, when I thought it was quite lucky I didn't lose everything. And yeah, there's quite a few disappointing units for me, and if it wasn't for basically just infantry, to 2 infantry platoons and my artillery, I think they pretty much carried the day.
Yeah, definitely did,
yeah. But yeah, I agree with the small little battles, because we had the little wasp battle that you had, the little flamethrower went down in the corner, and then obviously the infantry on the other objective, so it was quite fun little diversionary battles all around, really. But yeah, no, that was a good game, really enjoyed it, and hope you all enjoyed it as well, and hopefully everyone's still safe, and this will be going up in the new year because this was done before Christmas.